Salzberg, and I'm wishing you a happy World Kindness Week. I want to talk about kindness, and most particularly about the force of kindness. I've often thought of kindness as a kind of secondary virtue in a lot of people's eyes. That we think, well, if you can't be brilliant, or you can't be courageous, or you can't be wonderful, well, be kind. That's nice. It's not great, but it's good. And yet it is of greatness. I think if any of us were to recall someone who'd been incredibly kind to us, who maybe saw something in us we hadn't seen in ourselves, or had faith in us in some way, or reached out to us in some way, we don't think of that person with scorn. We think of them with such gratitude and awe. That kindness is a really brilliant, courageous, wonderful quality, all in and of itself. Another thing that people often assume, I find, is that we kind of come in with a measure of it. Like, it's not something we can cultivate. It's like a gift in some people's eyes, and you either have it or you don't. But what I found is that it really can be cultivated. It can be strengthened. It can be nurtured, because a lot of it depends on how we pay attention. How we pay attention, say, to a stranger. Do we actually look at them? Do we actually gather our energy to be present? Do we actually listen? Mostly not. Often we're either so self-preoccupied, like, what do they think about me? Do they like me? Do they like me more than they've ever liked anyone ever before? Oh no, I said something stupid, they hate me. Or we're so distracted, we're thinking about the email we need to send, or in the days when we were gathering in person, maybe we were looking around the room thinking, who else might be more interesting to talk to? Oh, anybody, right? And so what it takes is a kind of intentionality to pay attention differently. And if we can do that, if we can gather our attention, if we can be present, if we can be open, life is full of surprises in terms of how connected we might feel. And then kindness ensues. It's so natural a thing when we feel a sense of connection. It's like breathing out or something. It's not artifice or highly stylized. It's not like giving yourself a lecture. So how do we pay attention? Are we really there or not? And what do we pay attention to? Do we pretty much only look at the negative? What's wrong? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with the situation? What's wrong with this other person? Well, possibly. Many evolutionary biologists would say that we have a kind of negativity bias. It's almost as though we're in the jungle looking out for predators, and we're looking for threats, we're looking for danger, we're looking for warnings. And that's just a kind of conditioning that we have. So what it takes is intentionality, not force or violence, but it's like a willingness to experiment, to broaden our perspective, to have a sense of adventure, like, what else is happening? Anything good? And what is the good in ourselves that we can respond to with this sense of connection and caring? What's the good in someone else? And absent that, recognizing that everybody actually wants to be happy. Everybody. And happy in a deeper sense, not a superficial sense. Everybody wants to be happy in the sense that we all want a feeling of belonging somewhere. A feeling of being at home somewhere. In this body, in this mind, with one another on this planet. We all want to be happy. And it's because of the force of ignorance, of being beguiled by so many of the myths that we are taught about where strength lies, about where happiness lies, about how alone we are. It's because of that force of ignorance that we continue to make the mistakes that cause us suffering and have us cause others suffering. But truly, that wish toward happiness is a beautiful thing. It's not something to be squeamish about, because when it can be aligned with intelligence, with awareness, with wisdom, then it can take us very far. So we pay attention, and we really look in a different way. We find ourselves in one another. And not only do we all want to be happy, we're all so vulnerable. to change, to loss. It's not that we share the same measure of pain, because clearly we don't, but that vulnerability, the insecurity of life, the uncertainty of life. I mean, look at where we are. It's so outrageous. I used to say all the time, as an example, it's like you can pick up your cell phone and check your messages, and by the time you finish reading that message, it's like you have a different life than you had before you picked up your phone. It doesn't matter who you are. And I don't even know if we need to say it verbally anymore. Everything is so unsteady, it's so unpredictable. I had to look up a friend's email address the other day, and uh, as I was scrolling through, I realized the last time she wrote to me was New Year's Eve, 2019, the beginning of 2020. And what she wrote was, 2019 was kind of challenging. I can't wait till 2020. It's going to be so amazing to have a new year. I'm so happy with anticipation. I'm practically giddy. And I was like, oh, okay. And we share this. We share this kind of vulnerability. And so that should be the biggest impetus of all for us to have kindness for ourselves and for one another. And we should join together in a sense of community instead of feeling so alone as we face adversity. And then there's a very big question of who we pay attention to. Who do we ignore? Who do we look through? Even if we're counting on them. I had an interesting experience not too long ago where one of the styles of meditation that I often teach is called loving kindness. And in that form of meditation, we silently repeat certain phrases that are like an offering of care, of kindness, of presence, of awareness. Phrases beginning with ourselves like, may I be safe. And people often say, well, who am I asking? We're not asking anybody anything, we're gift giving. We're offering. It's like you hand someone a birthday card and you say, may you have a great year. So may I be safe, be happy, be peaceful, things like that. And then with others, somebody say we're very close to, may you be safe, be happy, be peaceful. And there's an arc, there's a certain structure of the practice. We begin the offering to ourselves, interestingly enough. We move to someone who's helped us in some way or inspires us. And we keep going through different kinds of relationships. At one point, we get to this person known as a neutral person, someone we don't especially like or dislike. We just feel indifferent to them. And very commonly, this is someone who plays some kind of role in our lives, where we see them now and then. And that's encouraged, actually, as a choice, because you may not feel some great breakthrough experience in your formal meditation, say you sit every day. But as you continue to see this person now and then, you will notice, oh, there's a different feeling. I want them to be happy. I wish for their well-being. I care about them some. As one friend of mine told me about her neutral person over time, she said, I felt like we were on the same team somehow. So probably for 45 years or so, my colleagues and I have been saying, like the checkout person in the supermarket, that's the perfect neutral person. The kind of person we normally discount, we couldn't care less about, usually. We're sort of indifferent to, we objectify, we don't really see. So I was recording a meditation the other day, and the journalist had chosen that meditation for me to record. And I got to that part, and I sort of went, whoops, look at that. How do we think we get to eat? Unless you're growing all your own food, we are counting on others. And in these days, that's saying something, right? We live in an interdependent universe where our lives are intertwined. And the inevitable response, if we're paying attention, is a sense of kindness. It's inclusion. It's caring. It may not even be highly emotional, but it's that deep, deep knowing that our lives have something to do with one another, and we can wish ourselves and others well. That this world would be a better place, a kinder place, if people could reach that understanding that our lives really have something to do with one another, and however alone we might feel or apart we might feel, it's actually an act of kindness that can return us to that sense of community and that sense of belonging, that sense of being part of a greater whole. I've seen that over and over again as people experience a lot of anxiety, they experience a lot of distress, they experience a kind of hopelessness even. And there are a lot of things that may help create a different kind of balance. And ultimately, I've seen many times the thing that helps the most is acts of kindness toward others. Help someone else out. And you will find it reawakens that place in you that is whole, that has something to give, that is connected rather than disconnected. And so I think of kindness really as a superpower and an extraordinary, extraordinary force.